Okay, welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I'm the host of Can We Talk? I'm an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. Last week, we began on an open dialogue about the state of education in the country. And during that session, it was observed that students with special needs are also impacted by the issues and challenges that continue to impact the education sector in the country. It was also observed that the issues surrounding special education and the needs of students with disabilities is something that needs special focus. And so today we are seeking to continue an open dialogue on the state of education in the country. So today we welcome Mistress Belinda Wilson and Mistress Bethel. We also welcome Kevin Cartwright, teacher and president of the Disabled Persons, representatives from the Erin Gilmore School for the Blind, Antoine Monroe, Valerie Simo, Kevin Cartwright, Melvern Hunt, Samuel Nixon, Tamiko Brown, our interpreter, Mrs. Bethel, Kayla Rami, Sonia Sanders Adderley, and Belinda Wilson, president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. So we have a full, Kaylin Cartwright, Mrs. Phillips. So we have a full panel today. So we're gonna start and get into our discussion. And we want you just to give us a brief introduction of yourself. So we'll start with Ms. Wilson and then we'll go down the line. Thank you so much.
I just want to say a pleasant good evening. I'm Belinda Wilson, president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, and my screen looks so beautiful with all of these educators. And I just want to say that I am happy that I was able to help you to make this happen. And so today I'm going to sit back and I'm going to learn from the persons who are the experts in special needs in our country. And I was really happy to even have the parents on. So that's it for me. I'm going to be watching Belinda Wilson. I just want to say to all of you, have a super show. And thank you, Tamiko Brown, for the sign language today. We really appreciate it. Solidarity forever, everybody. I'll be watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And you said that you would be taking a back seat today, but we still want just a little bit of your input. But thank you so much. And again, we want to thank Ms. Brown, for interpreting for us today. And so I'll start with Ms. Hunt, and then I'll jump back in with the others. Just a brief introduction of yourself.
My name is Melvern Hunt, and I am the special ed teacher at Donald Davis. I've been teaching for quite a number of years. I did my training at Lee University in Tennessee, at the University of Miami, and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Awesome. Next, we'll have Samuel Nixon. We just want you to a brief introduction of yourself.
Good evening. My name is Samuel Nelson, and I'm one of the 4 teachers in the pre-vocational unit at the Untitled Rogers High School, and been teaching for over 28 years, and teaching is my passion.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ms. Valerie Simo.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Valerie Simo. I am a parent of a student with a disability. My son is 17 and he is autistic. And I'm also an educator. And I live in Grand Bahama, and my son is a student at the Beacon School. It's a pleasure to be on.
Awesome, awesome. Mr. Kayla Rami.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Kayla Rami. I am a teacher and the vice principal at Scholars Preparatory School. I began my tertiary education at the College of the Bahamas, now the University of the Bahamas. I continued on, and I'm still continuing on with the University of the West Indies. As Mr. Samuel said, teaching is my passion, and I am just happy to be here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Raming. We'll jump to Sonia Sanders Adderley.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name, like you said, is Sonia Sanders Adderley. I am a teacher, special ed teacher at Stapleton School. I've been there for the past 19 years, going on 20. And my passion and my calling is education, and especially to those in special ed. I must say a special hello and it will be all for me to Tamiko, my sister in guiding. So we are good.
Awesome. Thank you for establishing that connection. We'll jump to Mrs. Bethel.
Hi, my name is Mistress Ingira Bethel. I am the principal and the teacher here at Scholars Preparatory School. My, like Ms. Raman said, my tertiary education, well, I am an alumna at Nova Southeastern University, and I do eat, live, and breathe education, learning, growth, and things of the like. And it is quite a pleasure to be here amongst learned individuals and those who are experienced. I'm looking forward to learning so much today. I'm excited to be here, and thank you once again.
Thank you, Mrs. Bethel. Mrs. Phillips.
Hi, a very pleasant good evening, everyone. My name is Keitra Phillips, and I am the proud parent of Keishat Phillips, who attends the Center for the Deaf. COVID forced me to be a stay-at-home mom, so I'm home monitoring my kids while everybody's in virtual school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Phillips. We jump to Antoine Monroe.
Pleasant good afternoon, everyone. As was said, I'm Antoine Monroe. I just a point of correction in your introduction. I am the president of the Disabled Persons Organization. I'm also the teacher's aide at the Salvation Army Aaron H. Gilmore School for Blind and Visually Impaired Children. I'm also a father. My daughter is totally blind. I'm happy to be here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Monroe, and thank you so much for that correction. Thank you for being here with us today. We'll jump to Kaylin Cartwright.
A pleasant good afternoon. I'm actually under my son's name. I'm Kevin and he's Kylan, but I'm Kevin Cartwright. And it's a pleasure to be among you esteemed educators. I'm a university trained and educated at the West Virginia State University, and I'm currently completing my master's degree at the University of Ottawa in Canada. I should be completed within the next several months. Also, I'm a teacher at the Salvation Army Aaron H. Gilmore School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I'm a father. My son has a visual impairment. I'm also a published author and an advocate for persons with disabilities. My passion for learning is fueled by my desire to teach and impart the knowledge that I have been blessed with. And it's just a blessing to know that I am able to plant those seeds of knowledge and to watch children grow and to blossom into participating, contributing citizens to our society. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, I want to jump to Ms. Tamiko Brown. She's working, but I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, Ms. Brown.
Good afternoon, or good evening, all. Like you said, my name is Tamiko Brown. I'm surprised that I have to speak, but I'm happy to be here to join you. I am also an educator, and I taught at the Center for the Deaf. For 2 years, I taught there. But I work with the deaf children at my church, which is Baptist Bible Church. So I'm continually working and educating and to help them to, I guess, reach their full potential. So I'm happy to join all of you educators. And as we continue to fight to help the inclusion in our society, I pray that everything works out and that we have a successful meeting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Thank you. And so we jump to our first question as pertains to the state of education, as it pertains to students with disabilities and special needs. What are your thoughts on the state of education, specifically as it pertains to students with disabilities or students with special needs? So firstly, I'll jump to Mr. Anton Monroe. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Well, I think for us at the School for the Blind, I'm just speaking on how I see it. We are challenged. It's one of the things we have to, what most people do not know is 80% of a child's learning is derived by sight. Us there at the school, we teach more, it's more hands-on. And so just by the introduction of the COVID-19 and all that, the challenge has become even more challenging for us to be able to teach, especially when you look at having to refer to virtual learning. And what I would say at this point is it's very challenging at this time.
And just to go just a little bit deeper as it pertains to those challenges, are you specifically speaking about the virtual aspect of it?
Yes. We all did not expect for COVID-19 to come at our door. Well, I'll use this, to come at our doorstep. So we had to create a system that we are still trying to work out. And to be honest with you, it's very challenging because, as I said earlier, a lot of what we do at the School for the Blind is more hands-on teaching. For example, we teach Braille reading and writing. Of course, that is a challenge to try to do virtually. And that is the primary way or independent way a person who is blind or visually impaired can read or write is through Braille. And so that's a challenge. Even when you look at teaching the other subjects that are part of the curriculum plus, we find many challenges as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Monroe. I'll jump to Mr. Kevin Cartwright.
Oh, yes, thank you. The state of education as it relates to inclusive education for students with disabilities, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. Perhaps if I were to say that it's in shambles, some persons might agree while others would disagree. But nevertheless, there are parts and pieces that need to be put into their proper places so that our system of inclusion for students with disabilities would have that type of free-flowing environment in which all students would be able to engage and participate to the full extent of their abilities. As my colleague, Mr. Monroe, mentioned, we work in an environment that requires a lot of interaction between teachers and students. Hence, much of what we do is practical, while there are aspects that do require technological interventions. We operate on the Curriculum Plus, which affords us the opportunity for the augmentative aspect of learning, or the differentiated instruction, as we special educators know. Now, our school, we do provide the regular subjects such as mathematics, language, the sciences, and such, but the Curriculum Plus, which consists of the assistive technologies and Braille training and mobility, these are components that we find very challenging, especially confronted with the pandemic. Now, none of us had bargained for the pandemic. However, this is a ubiquitous problem which we all have come to to adjust or learn to acclimate to. And many of us, as our school, we were not prepared for this, even though some of our teachers are trained and equipped in the use of technology. So having to diversify our system and take it from the brick and mortar setting and operate in the synchronous or virtual environment would have presented and still does present a lot of challenges, as Mr. Monroe would have mentioned. Teaching Braille in a virtual environment is a very difficult and arduous thing to do. Even trying to provide lessons and techniques of daily living skills or mobility, all of these have caused us to stretch our imaginations and even try to look for resources that we can use to bring the education to our students in a manner where they would be able to absorb what we're trying to teach them. And even though we're continuing in this vein, it is still enough and it's still not enough. But nevertheless, we know that we must continue until we are able to return to the face-to-face setting, which is the best way for integration to take place.
Thank you. Thank you for your input, Mr. Cartwright. I'll jump to Ms. Seymour, Valerie Simo. What are your thoughts on the state of education as it pertains to students with special needs?
Well, I just want to say that as an educator, as a person involved recently with a wide range of students through my work with a community center in the 8 Mile Rock area, that the state of education for all students in Grand Bahama, and I'm from Grand Bahama, is in a state, as we would say in the Bahamas. I'm in a state, we're in a fix, because whether or not people want to accept it or not, we have been dealing with 2 years, going on 3, of interrupted education. And I think if we looked back at our national results over the years, even at 2019, we were not where we wanted to be. And so definitely the effect of closure of schools due to the Hurricane Dorian, the subsequent closure of schools due to COVID-19 has just exasperated what was already a system that's teetering on the edge. And so definitely as a parent of a child with special needs, that is compounded. That is compounded in Grand Bahama, and I can only speak for Grand Bahama, by a lack of basic services for the special needs community. Speech therapy, non-existent, not provided by the Ministry of Education, and in fact, unfortunately now, not provided to my current knowledge by a private professional due to the passing of a speech therapist who was here for many years, Ms. Inzalundi. Lack of occupational therapy, lack of physiotherapy and behavioral therapy provided within the school system. I speak from the platform of autism. And so, as many on the call would know, it's a condition that has many different aspects that needs to be dealt with. And I think that we continue to do our children a disservice by not seeing that the therapy is as essential to these students as a diabetic's insulin. We would not say it's okay for 17 years to tell a diabetic, I'm sorry, we can't provide that medication. Sorry, we can't provide that therapy. Sorry, we can't do that. But as a parent of a 17-year-old, I never imagined 17 years later, I would be saying, wow, we still don't have a government-funded speech therapist as a basic in Grand Bahama. So that's a major concern for us here. There are other services that are lacking at the Beacon School, which is our special needs school. The administrative team has done a fabulous job at transitioning to the COVID-19 new situation, the narrative, but there is a basic lack of vocational teachers. And I know there was a period of time up until just this school year when the school did not have a music teacher. How could you not provide a music teacher for a special needs school? And so I'm not sure if it's because people don't have an intimate knowledge or experience, but certainly we as parents have been saying the same thing for a very, very, very long time. And it's time that someone stops. At the end of the day, we want our children to be independent citizens. We're not asking them to graduate from Harvard or Yale, but we want them to be independent. We want them to be able to get a job and to be employed. And if we don't give them the skills at this key point in their lives, when are we going to give it to them? When are we going to equip them to take their place? And they do have a place in our society. And like I say, it's a dismal situation, and it's only been compounded beyond imagination for parents. The caller, one of the other panelists said she had to become a stay-at-home mom. That is what many, many parents with special needs children have had to do. And imagine the risk, I would say, for those who don't have that option. Imagine the risk to their children. So that's my 10 cents from Grand Bahama. And I look forward to hearing the other contributions and getting in the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for representing Grand Bahama so well. Thank you, Ms. Seymour. And I want to jump to Mistress Bethel. Ms. Seymour talked about how the education system has been kind of exaggerated. Could you add to, at least she's speaking in terms of Freeport, but can you add to the state of education as your role, in your role as a principal, and also kind of considering students with special needs?
Yes, if you remember last week on the platform, when we spoke about the state of education in general, we wanted to segregate it because we put it in two categories: private school education and a public school education. And looking from both those aspects, there is it's not an equal playing field per se, right? So let's take that same scope and look at it coming from a private sector, because we're a small private school here, right? And so as far as education is concerned, with those students that we have that may have an academic challenge or a physical challenge, we were able to still carry on with them uninterrupted. Now, before COVID, what we did, and Ms. Seymour brought up so many of the points and the valid points as far as having an occupational therapist, having a speech therapist, and what we did prior to COVID is, once we had those students who we've identified that may have had a challenge, of course, we work in conjunction with our parents. We don't do anything without parental involvement. And as I stated last week, that is key, okay? Parental involvement is key. So we work together with our parents. And once we identified that, hey, this child may need augmentation or some supplemental assistance with the learning process, what we did is we got an occupational therapist and a behavioral therapist to work with those particular students. And she did that for almost a year and a half or so before COVID came. So once COVID came, that sort of threw everything out of the window. But the good thing about that is we've been doing it so consistently with the lady, and they have had the tools that they were able to still use when we transitioned to the virtual platform. Not only the students, because she worked with us as well as teachers. She gave us the tools and resources that we needed to assist the students in our classrooms when she was not here. The thing about it too is consistency, okay? Because what happens in school must mimic what happens at home. There has to be the same platform in order for the students to continue learning. So coming from the private sector, that is what we did as far as assisting those students with disabilities in private institutions. Now, I do know that where our school is, there is a special school across the street from us. And that school, of course, that's privately funded. We had some graduates a couple of years ago who did community service across the street there, and they had to do reports on what they saw, their findings, and so forth. And so for those students or children that are a part of that special school that's privately funded, they had the opportunity to engage in a lot of things that may not be available to public school students who may have the same disabilities. Obviously, Down syndrome or some level of cerebral palsy or, spina bifida, whatever their issues were, the parents were able to support them financially, emotionally, so forth. So what their goal was, or is, I should say, at the time, is to teach them life skills. Okay, like I think it was Miss Simo that might have said, we're not looking for them to graduate from Yale or Harvard. No, everybody's not an academic student. A regular child isn't always an academic student, right? So especially those with disabilities. So the goal for them is to make those students independent individuals and teach them life skills. All right. So, but that's a privately funded, privately owned institution where they have access, direct access, maybe even unlimited access to resources needed to assist them in helping children to learn, because they still teach them the language and math and so forth. Okay. And so I'm pretty sure that's a different view from the public school, but I think it's very important to bring forth both views in this instance, because we need to know, because you have some students who are in the private school who have the same challenges as those students who are in the public system. And the disparity is great when you look at it. So that's my 5 cents about that, coming from that instance.
Thank you so much. And I'll jump to Miss Keithra Phillips. She's a parent. You will bring your eyes was Phillips, but can you tell us about, what are your thoughts on the state of education, particularly as it pertains to students with special needs? I know you mentioned you have a child and, with those special needs. So how have you handled? I know you said, you become a stay-at-home parent, you become a stay-at-home mom. So share with us, what are your challenges? What are your thoughts on the state of education?
Good evening again. Well, I'm going to give my 1 cent. First of all, the teachers at the Center for the Deaf, when I say they are absolutely amazing, they are like amazing. As simple as just getting my son to focus, being in the classroom and obviously being on virtual as a hearing impaired child is totally different. I actually have to sit down with him, to say, okay, you got to focus. And that has been a challenge because he feels as if he's just doing the same thing over and over and over. And it's very hard as a parent. Many days, I'm going to tell you, I went in the room and I cried.
Oh, wow.
I literally cried like at least 2 weeks into virtual school, because he wants to learn new things. Right. He was tired of learning the same thing over and over and over. And then when he asks me questions as a parent, I'm like, okay, I got to go to Google to find out what does this mean in sign language, or what does that mean? And then to find out the things that I was learning off of Google, when he went back to face, it wasn't the same thing that they were teaching him.
Listen, Google will set you up. Google, I always tell my students, do not use Google. That will set you up. So I understand you fully.
Yes, ma'am. So when I said was the things I was teaching him here, and then the things that he was learning in school was totally different.
Right, different.
So he's like, okay, the teacher's telling me this and you're telling me that. Who do I listen to? Yeah. So when I say these kids need to get back in school, yeah, trust me, they really need to get back in school. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips, for adding your 1 cent.
Yeah.
I'll jump to Ms. Sonia Sanders, Adderley.
From my point, I'm speaking on behalf of Stapleton School. And to say the state of education, we are lacking teachers. We are lacking resources. And like many other of my panelists have said, that we still need assistance with occupational therapy because or you might not know that BAPD is also a part of Stapleton School, and it is hard for them to operate. And even some of our students are at Stapleton School without the occupational therapist. Our speech therapist, she can only do so much. And I must give it up to Miss Keva Ferguson. She has done very well. She has, during this COVID, pushed through um, contacting teachers to contact students to ensure that they are online. And it's hard for them to do speech therapy in person. So just, imagine virtually. Then we had, when COVID kicked over and we had to start teaching again, like they say, we had the different platforms we had to go on. Some teachers went on Google Classroom, some preferred Zoom. Well, I had to go with WhatsApp because my parents said they're not going on any computer.
Oh,
So you know what it is to dial in 6 or 7 children on WhatsApp, you on your phone. They say, I can operate my phone. Let's do what the phone can do. And so when the opportunity came for us to do some type of hybrid um, education at that time, I jumped on, can I have my children the 4 days, please? We'll stay home on Friday, but give me the 4 days so parents can get a break. And that's what we have to understand too as well, that when these children come back to school, we are giving parents a break so that they can deal with their children better at home because a lot of them tell us straight and plain, they don't know how we do it. And to deal with a special child at home, some parents with two, that is a lot. Um, for a special child to even sit down in front of a device, you're asking a lot. Our children are hands on. That tactile work needs to be enforced. And they learn through touching, especially those ADD children, and ADHD students. They learn through actually touching them, and they get so much from their peers, that's socializing with other children. That is what is needed because that is another form of learning. When Ms. Seymour spoke about getting a child to live after school, that is important. We teach functional living, functional language, functional math. We do daily living skills, social skills, but that is so hard. There's only so much movies you can show them. The activities, and I try to put a craft to get them to work with their fine motor skills. Some of those fine motor skills are going out the door. We don't know where we will be starting back at when we come face to face because our students have lost so much. A week is a lot to them. So just judge 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
2 going on 3 years. Um, we have we have some teachers who have gone the extra mile and having students coming in groups, small groups during those days, those hybrid days, and just working okay with the very low students, then those who are able to function. And it's hard because we also have teachers who have their own children to take care of, but what happens to their children when they come in to tend to special children? I thank God that my children are adults, so I have more freedom in that movement. But we have to look at how we are going to reach out and get more teachers. We really need more teachers in our school.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanders Annalee, for mentioning that. And you talk about the need for more resources and, also the importance of students being able to socialize and interact with each other. I want to thank you for mentioning that. And Ms. Phillips, you talk about, the difficulty of having to, have your son pay attention because he's there for, I believe. Yeah, he's deaf, so you have to try and have him pay attention on the virtual platform and the challenges with that. And I want to thank you for sharing that insight. I'm also going to go to Mr. Nelson. What is your thoughts on the state of education?
I'll start with a quote from George Evans that says, "Every student can learn, just not on the same day or in the same way." And there's a saying that says, "Talk cheap, but money buy land." Because number one, I don't think people understand about the whole aspect of special needs children. When they talk about special need, they talk about those slow remedial ones. But who are these children? And why I say talk cheap, we talk, the ministry talk, private sector talk, or we love our special needs, but you have to put the money where your mouth is. Because when we talk about special needs, we are talking about a wide cross section, For those persons who are watching us on Facebook, you can see the cross section of panelists here. But however, you will have some students that have multiple disabilities, combination of disabilities. You have students who are mental retarded, which cause them not to develop as other children. Then you have those with speech and language impairment. You have those who deaf and hard of hearing. Then you have those who have physical disabilities, where they talk about those with cerebral palsy and other conditions. Then we come down to those who are learning disabled. I was talking to somebody, I said, you talk about those who have dysgraphia, dyscalculia,
dyslexia. That's right.
So we're talking about, and that's just in your learning. Then you have students who have emotional disorders, such as antisocial and other behavioral problems. So we need to understand that when we talk about special education, we're not talking about remedial children, because when this COVID came, from my experience, we had persons who were using learning management system in order to reach certain students. I was teaching where I had one group of children were coming from a remote area, and they would never stay back so that I could give them assistance. So I found a learning management system, and it was working fine for us. And my mantra, as you see, I have passion for teaching. So anything that I can find to teach, I want to use that. So when I talked last week to the minister about the learning management system, you're going to say, no, use that. But what you're going to tell the person, for Mr. Monroe and Mr. Cartwright who can't see, use the LMS? What you're going to, and I felt it because I last year was on a committee where we talk about these different disabilities. And one of the suggestions was to allow the children that were blind to take the equipment home, do a sign-out program so that they could still practice. How are you going to practice writing and reading? And as I said, everyone can reach their potential, because one of my music teacher, he was visually impaired, and he was an independent man. He was married and he had children, and you could never assist him to take grades when he come to grade us. He say has his own method to do that. He take out his typewriter, typos his stuff. When he's going to visit students on teaching practice, he's coming on his own. So we have these children who have, I call them varied abilities. But Miss Moss, one of my things that we have been talking about, because we have 4 persons in our pre-vocational unit. You hear what the name is? Vocational, pre-vocational. One of our mantra is that our children must leave and be functional. There is nobody in the ministry that has a position to say, okay, we have an exit program for these people. There's nobody in the Ministry of Education that has that portfolio. And so in our own little way, we are trying to find, can this plumber come in and show them how to do some work so they can be an apprentice? Or can we get this barber? Even today we went to look for a barber. The barber was excited. He said, I love to help children, especially special needs children. So we have to be in the forefront doing this because we have this passion for children. So we talk a lot about special education, but we need to understand the different aspects of it. One of the good things that we had since we were in the pandemic, the early part of the pandemic, I lift my hat off to all the parents. When parents were locked down, we had a good virtual class because I could, when I call the parents, I say, you are my teacher assistant. I can't see in your world, but you can tell me what is happening in your world. And when I started, I had students who they are non-verbal, but we expect them still to come on this platform to do something. But thank God that I had parents who could, when I say, okay, you're going to take the pen that you have virtually and you're going to shade Africa using the palette with orange. And then I can't see their screen. So I say, Mommy, what's happening over there? Are they doing it? And I have some very honest parents would say yes, or they would say no. And so when we talk about the state of education, we have to go back to the drawing board to say that we have, one of the other things is that we misdiagnose students. And some students, they have a disability because sometimes the only disability they have is English as a second language. And if you can work on that second language, then you don't have to pin them down for 5 years, 10 years in a unit because they don't understand the English. But if you can work with them, I'm going to give you a quick example. 2 students came to the former school I was in, North Andros, and they took them on school, but not on the register because they wanted to get them immersed. And I told him, I said, send them to me because I had a resource room. So you see, you have schools, you have resource room, you have unit, you have different stuff in special education. I had a resource room and I said, send them to me. And when I realized that one of the other students that was in my resource room was a cousin, I said, anytime you're coming, just let them come. And my first lesson, I said, let me go and learn Asian Creole. And I learned to say a few stuff. And the second day I said to the cousin who was in my unit, I said, when you're talking during lunchtime, don't do Asian Creole. Do the language and immerse them. And so those students, they came. I used other programs that they could hear the language going on. And can I tell you, after 3 months, they were borrowing 5 and they were reading. And when they put them the second year into the population, they were doing better than those who could speak English. To show that we have students, some students even start school late. And I'm going to stop now. But one of the things that we need to look about, we can't have students come to preschool for 1 year and think they're ready for grade 1. They are not ready for grade 1. Because I taught in the primary school and I taught in the high school. And when they reach grade 3, that's the time they're ready for grade 1. So when we talk about the state of education with inclusion, we have a big plate and a big shoes to fill. We need, as Mrs. Adderley says, we need more hands on deck. We need more people. But sometimes with quantity, what I just said, talk cheap, money buy land, or we don't have the money to get in these different resources and these, it's expensive. But if we want to see, we have a good hold on special education and having other regions to come to see what we are doing, then money have to be there to buy land. We have to invest and not just talk. We have to invest. And so we are working as our unit to get another thing. We have to look at the curriculum. I talk too much now, but we have to look at the curriculum because general ed can't be for special ed. So we have to look at the curriculum to see how we are going to adjust. With parents, because the last thing now, I'm a Baptist preacher, but I'm from Jumper Church. But the last thing now is that we look for special education. You know that we have the IEP. That's their own program. And so even if you have 5 students or 8, as Mrs. Sanders said, that's 8 different needs that is sitting down in front of you. That's 8 different planning that you need to do. So a forecast that you're going to do as a general forecast can't do it. You need your IEP to say, this is what you're going to do. I had a parent who understood, and I applaud the parent. I had a parent who understood what it was. So when she came back from special services with the 3 pages, I look at the back and they said, this is what needs to be done. So that's my mantra. That's what I'm working on. What needs to be done? So they asked me, so what's the development? I said, this boy used to do loops. Now he's writing. So what's the development? I say when everybody can answer 10 questions, he's going to take the whole week to answer 1 question per day, because that's the development that's happening.
Thank you.
So at the end of the day, they gave the parent a report card. The parent told them to keep that. They don't want that. They want to see the progress report that she came in the school and sat down and said, this is what's going to happen for my child in this area, in that area, and the next area. And so you'll have progressing, did not reach, meet the mark. And that's what we do with our special education. We want to have A, B, C, D, F, G. And in the general ed is D. So we have to go back to the drawing board and look at how we are looking at special education if we want to be a region that people from other places going to come and to model.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson, and thank you for being expressing and sharing with us the various aspects and sharing those broad categories of students with special needs. And so we want to hear.
Sorry, Ms. Moss, let me just allow me to interject. My apologies. I know you probably want to go to Ms. Rami next, right? I just felt that in my spirit. Hey, nonetheless, let me just interject with something that Mr. Nelson said about every child can learn. Maybe not on the same day, not in the same way. And we strongly believe that as well. And I want to just give you an example as well. Since he gave his example, I want to give an example to bring this as another case in point, is that we had a student some years ago come to us from the public school. And the public school told him that, hey, this child can't learn. We don't know what to do with him. Y'all got to carry him somewhere else. Ms. Rami could verify this, right? I'm not making this up. So they brought their son to us. He is Asperger. He is Asperger, right? He's on the autistic scale. Brilliant young man, brilliant. At the end of the day, the child that they said that was unable to learn, they cannot do anything for him, okay? His only problem with, as you know, is with autistic children, they have their socially inept, right? Some of them cannot take too much loud noises. They don't like that interaction. And that's a whole nother process in and of its own. And so they see things in black or white. They don't know what figurative means. They don't know the in-between, right? But the same child, once we worked with him, we realized strengths and weaknesses. We had our tools, our resources. He was able to sit BGCSEs now, and he got B's. Listen to me. He did science. He did biology, chemistry, physics, combined science, mathematics, extended paper, and he did English language. He got B's and above in those 5, and he got a pass in the English language. And that's because, with the figurative and the language, that's sort of like, so this is and guess what? He ended up getting a 4-year scholarship to a technical and vocational institute, 4 years to do engineering, because that's what he wanted to do. This is the child that they said could not learn. So I just had to interject that, okay? As to back up Mr. Nelson's point with the progress. See, you have to trust the process. You have to trust the process. And even if it's an incremental improvement, it's an improvement nonetheless. It has to be consistent, okay? And that is, why I have this passion. We all have this passion for learning. It doesn't matter. So what if the child is unable to put together a proper sentence? So what if they have ADHD? They can learn at some point. They can learn. We have to put the resources and the tools in place and be consistent. Okay? All right. Take it away now.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bethel, and driving home that important point that students can learn, regardless of what they may say, hey, the student is not capable of learning, that student showed them otherwise. So thank
Yes,
you for
ma'am.
sharing that. So I'm going to come to you, Ms. Raman. I'm going to come to you. I just want to take this time to recognize our viewers and those persons listening in. I saw your comment, Ms. Pitta from Jamaica. Thank you so much for listening in. You're a regular viewer. I want to thank all of those. If you're an educator and you're listening in, thank you so much. Please feel free to add your comments. I'm going to go through those comments, but I want to welcome you in. Thank you so much for listening to our session tonight. Like, share this session with others, because this is an important conversation, important talk that we need to have. So Ms. Raman, I'm going to come to you, but I want to jump to Ms. Melbourne Hunt first, and I'll save you for last. Okay, you save the best. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Hunt. Can you unmute yourself?
Thank you, Ms. Moss. When we talk about the state of education as it relates to persons with disabilities, I concur totally with what all of your panelists have said. And I would like to add this from the Child Protection Act. The Act reaffirms the responsibility of education to take appropriate measures to ensure that children with disabilities benefit from equal educational opportunities. The UN Convention also says the rights of persons with disabilities, and this was ratified by the Bahamas in 2015. The Act also endorses human rights-based approach, a human rights-based approach, and it mandates that the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, I think they've changed their name now, but we know just who I'm talking about. The Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, in consultation with the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, are to take into consideration the special needs of the groups formulating and when they are formulating and emulating their educational programs and policies.
Yes.
Despite what the Constitution says with regards to persons with special needs, I do feel that not enough has been done. Mind you, there is more acceptance because educators have made persons more aware. However, when there's more acceptance, we still have a long way to go when it comes to inclusion. Let's look at this LMS, EMS, for example. When that system was created, special ed could not have been on their minds and the needs of special ed children. Obviously not. It could not have been on their minds. They're children with cerebral palsy. It takes them almost 20 minutes to touch one key, if you understand where I'm coming from. Blind persons who are used to Braille and do not have a Braille device at home. The state of education as it relates to persons with special ed, we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. Lack of trained personnel, and maybe because teachers don't make any money, why nobody's interested.
Boy.
And we just have a long way to go, Ms. Moss. But I concur with what everybody has said. The points that I had, most of them have touched on all of them. So I don't want to reiterate them, but I definitely know that the LMS was not designed with persons in mind. And that's what the Constitution tells us, that when implementing these programs, we must take into consideration students with special needs and disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hunt, and thank you for bringing those policies into the talk. Thank you so much. And lastly, we have Ms. Kayla Rami. Can you share with us the state of education? And I know you may be familiar with that student who proved the naysayers wrong. So can you share your thoughts?
Yes, good evening again. Yes, Ms. Moss. Yes, I can verify Mrs. Bethel's point about the student who was at our school and who we sing his praises all the time. And not only him,
That's
we
right.
also currently have other students who are beating the odds and excelling beyond what people have said that they would be able to do. As a matter of fact, there is a student now who I have had the privilege to teach from he was in the primary school and seeing him now in the high school, and he was labeled as retarded. And he was told that, the parents were told that that's it, don't worry about it, that's him. And because of them pushing beyond and not being willing to say, okay, nothing is going to happen for my child, they push the extra mile and they seek the help. And right now he's in high school and functioning and not probably going to be the next, I say, brain surgeon, but he is going to reach his goals.
Yes, ma'am.
He has a support team behind him. Okay, so I can verify that. But in my opinion, the panelists here basically spoke my thoughts as well. I would say that as a teacher in the mainstream classroom, who has had the privilege to integrate students from with different abilities in terms of autism, dyslexia, ADHD, AD. So just a number of different impairments or impediments, right? And having that ability for years, having that opportunity for years to teach these children and do what I could as a mainstream teacher, not professionally trained in special ed, but one who has been seeking information in the field and going to seminars and workshops and whatnot to ensure that I have the ability to do what I can in the mainstream classroom to integrate these students and have them immersed in the classroom with their peers, right, who may not have those abilities. I must say that as a teacher who was, I'd say, on the outside looking into the special, well, inside looking out, the opposite way, right? I'm looking at the special ed situation in the Bahamas. I must say personally, from my analysis of it, I do agree with those who are here who actually do specialize in that area. I do agree that there is a lot needed to be done in our country. I believe that we have excellent educators in the special ed department, but we don't have enough. I know that we have persons like Mr. Nelson and others here who are willing to give an eye and a foot to give these kids what they need, but they don't have the resources. You know, they don't have the manpower who they would need in the classroom with them to say, attend to this child while they attend to this group. And so I believe in our country, the state of education, as far as it pertains to special education, I believe we have a lot to do. I believe we've come a long way and we've made lots of strides. I could say that I could remember my experience at the College of Bahamas when I did my community service at the Center for the Deaf. And I just can't forget that experience in the classrooms and seeing those teachers and how those kids, I was like blown away. I'm like, these kids are deaf, they're joking. And so seeing those teachers in action and seeing that they have a passion for it, and knowing that it's not that we don't have persons willing to do the work, we don't have enough, and we don't have the resources in our country to deal with those children. Or like Mr. Sadler said again, I have to refer to him again, we have persons singing that they're willing to support, but they ain't backing it up. So I believe that for our country, the Bahamas, as far as special education is concerned, we need to do more. That's my 5 cents on that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ramani. You mentioned an important point about the fact that you are in, you would say, not a school for students with special needs. However, there are students there who may have challenges as it pertains to maybe a level of autism, maybe a level of dyslexia. And so this can be maybe something that's even within our school system, but do educators really have those skills to really, pull that out and really address students who have those issues? That's another thought.
See, Miss Moss too, because we have small class. See, I think the challenge too is, and the public school teachers can verify. You have X amount of students in a classroom to teach, right? I think normally you have like maybe 25 or more students to teach. Now, I'm not sure how it is in a specialized school. I'm here to learn as well. But because we have small classroom sizes, we have the flexibility to be able to integrate, to research, to do our research, and to find out and to consult with those specializations, those specialists. And so that allows us to be able to, do what we need to do in assisting these children to learn. You see, so I think that may be a slight difference in that regard, because the challenge would be much greater, I would assume, in the public system with, I think Mr. Nelson mentioned, you have the different levels of learning impediments and physical impediments. You see, so it's going to be difficult to have to be so flexible. Of course, with lack of manpower, it's going to be an arduous task, to say the least.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Ms. Nelson.
For special education, you shouldn't have more than 10 persons. And when I was doing my resource program, I was coming into the school new because I was teaching in a primary school, doing some other stuff with some other children, and they needed. I have a degree from Western Carolina University, North Carolina. And I did a proposal, and when I spoke with my principal, she had everything that I was talking about. So we were on the same page.
Great.
We're on the same page. So you shouldn't have more than 10. And you should also have an aide to assist you. The challenge though is that sometimes you're able not to, because they told us that we can't diagnose children because we don't have that skill. But you can see certain signs, and the protocol is you see the sign, you talk.
I think
coming off the family island, they'll give them a transportation per diem for food. But the challenge is, at the end of the day, if that parent say that I do not want to share the disability with the school, legally, as a school, we cannot force them to give up.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I see your camera may have frozen, but you raised a very important point, and I want to thank you for sharing that. I see Mr. Monroe, you open up your mic. I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the language, because I've been listening, and it's very important that we understand that the language we refer to students or even persons with disabilities on the whole, it's important that we use the correct language. So I can provide with this panelist a document that has been shared with my organization very recently by Mr. Floyd Morris. So it is very important. For example, what we always like to encourage, you don't look at the disability first, you look at the person. So, for example, referring to a person who is blind, you said that man who is blind, or that woman who is blind, not the blind woman or the blind man. That's just an example, but I can, like I said, provide a whole listing of correct language that should be used by persons when you are referring to persons with disabilities. The other thing is I wanted to give some information as it relates to Braille. Now, Braille is a code by which persons who are blind or visually impaired read using their fingertips. Braille is not a language. Braille can be written written in many languages. Braille is written by a machine called a Braille machine. The Braille machine. And correct techniques are taught by us at the school to our students how to read and write Braille. I just wanted to share that information.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Monroe. And I want to thank you for reminding us, of the importance of using the correct language. And that's so important. For me, I'm always careful. So I ask if I feel as though, I'm not sure. I always ask, is this the right terminology, Ms. Phillips? Should I say hard of hearing? Should I say deaf?
Right.
I just want to make sure I use the correct terminology. So I want to thank
Yes,
you.
thank you, Mr. Monroe. Yeah.
If I may add something here too briefly. As a blind person, what I have experienced in going out with sighted assistants, you find sometimes persons wanting to learn things about you, but rather than approaching the blind individual, they approach the sighted assistant, inquiring of things that they want to know about me, the blind individual. And it's important for society to know out there that persons who are blind are capable, critical thinkers. We can function for ourselves, like Mr. Nelson mentioned. A colleague, he made reference to a blind individual who taught music and how he capably conducted his work and did everything by himself. And it's important, if you want to learn something about me as a blind person, about blindness in general, don't be afraid to approach me. Blindness is not contagious. It's important to learn how to communicate with blind persons and to ask those questions. Don't be afraid. Even sometimes if you think that your question might be wrong, the only way you're going to find out is by approaching me, or for that matter, anyone who's blind. So it's important to always keep that in mind when you see persons who are blind out there. Don't be afraid to approach them.
Thank you. That's an important point.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin, Mr. Cartwright. I truly appreciate that. And as you would have mentioned, listen, I did training with the blind before, and I know that these people are very independent people. Okay, they cook, they on their phone, they live a very regular life. Okay, so I am very aware of that, and I want to thank you for expressing that, Mr. Cartwright. And I want to jump to our next question. As we look at the impact of COVID-19 and COVID-19 protocols and lack of in-person teaching, based on your experience, can you identify how COVID-19 or the protocols kind of and the transition to the virtual platform? Because we talked about it a little bit, but how has it impacted your students with disabilities? I'll go to Valerie Simo first.
Okay, I want to say that I think it was Mrs. Hunt that spoke about the design of the platform, and understandably, the platform's design probably was in the mix before COVID-19. There was virtual school going on, maybe using something else. I know certainly after the hurricane, certain students in Albuquerque, et cetera. But what I saw was there was a lack of adapting to the special needs community. I had the occasion to say to my child teacher, him sitting and looking at himself and having to look and focus at the other students, that's difficult, that's painful. And you're doing it in his house. So we're asking him to take this on in his house when, and then you say, keep the camera on. And we must have the camera on. Like, what are we saying? What are we saying? I think we cannot just do things and not take into account accessibility. I want to applaud the organizers for having someone on that is providing sign language. And the thing is, it's not 1970. It's the 21st century. There are all kinds of mechanisms to provide accessibility to a platform. Ms. Hunt spoke about, being able to click a button and simply get where you need to go, And so you have to stop and say, are we designing with the special needs child in mind? Are we looking back at the Child Protection Act? Are we looking back at what we agreed we would do with equaling the playing field? I don't think we have. I think we put something together, and the special needs community, it comes across, I can be so wrong, it comes across as it's a bit of an afterthought. Okay, we've done this. How do we now accommodate this group of people? It can't be that way. Not if we expect success. And I want to say one more thing here. Until we all, the educators, the Ministry of Education, realize that this is an act of service. This is a service. When we go to the public health system, we come for a service. When we go to the bank, we come for a service. When people bring their children to a school, they come for a service.
Yes.
Let us think of them as customers. Let us think that this is my client walking through the gate, coming in the office. How am I going to deliver the service that this particular person needs? And if I have a gap in providing that service, what do I need to do to adapt, to adjust, to make it better, to improve? And that's really what it's about for me as a parent. And I think for a lot of other people as well.
Thank you so much. I just want to acknowledge someone who would have just joined us under the name is Neely. I'm not sure. I guess you can identify yourself. I'm not sure if you're an educator or parent, but I guess you can let us know. Or if you're just listening in, that's fine as well. But if you would like to add if you would like to add, feel welcome to do so. At this time, I will bring in Ms. Hunt. Your thoughts on the impact of the COVID-19 protocols. Just unmute, unmute your mic first, Ms. Hunt.
From a teacher perspective, the impact of COVID-19 has been a challenge for many students with special needs. We had the Delta variant, and now we're in a more contagious variant. The students with special needs are indeed vulnerable. Children with special needs have chronic physical, developmental, behavioral, or emotional conditions, varied disabilities. And then there are those that have a combination of complex medical conditions. For example, you may have a child with autism and being hearing impaired. You may have a child with cerebral palsy and asthma. Other students have cerebral palsy and they have seizures. There are a number of complexities that in the season of COVID, our special needs kids have to deal with. There are students who breathe through their mouth. How are they to wear a mask for extended periods of time?
Yeah.
That's next to impossible. What makes things difficult? They have to miss doctor's appointments for extended periods of time simply because you're advised not to come to the hospital. Some of them may need medication change. They may need the medication to be increased. Parents have been a bit hesitant even to venture out because they know that their children have underlying conditions. And so they are trying to protect them. So COVID has not done students with special needs any injustice. Medically, educationally, it's just been a downfall for us. As we know, children are still too young for the COVID vaccine. Yet, because of their underlying conditions, they are very much at risk of catching
Yes.
the infection.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input, Ms. Hunt. And at this time, I just want to acknowledge Ms. Belinda Wilson, Mistress Belinda Wilson, who would have helped to kind of, help with this team. And I know she's listening in. So I just want to acknowledge you, Ms. Wilson. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening in. And anytime you can jump back as well. Okay, so I want to jump to Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson, can you share with us impact of COVID-19 protocols on students with disabilities?
All right. From my experience, when we heard that we were going to come in for some days, I know dealing with some of the special needs kids, you have huggers, you have those who want to hug. So that was one of my fear. You know, you want to be 6 feet apart. How do you get them 6 feet apart, especially those who love to hug? Then you have those can challenges.
Okay, I'll come back to Mr. Nelson. I don't.
Yeah, I think he's flagging. I do believe, Ms. Moss, that Ms. Neely may be the parent Mrs. Wilson was referring to from Exuma. I do believe. I think he can verify that.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bethel. I guess when she can identify herself, I'll jump to Mistress Sanders Adderley.
For Stapleton School, when that first 2 weeks, we were told we will be off for that first 2 weeks. We have our teachers chat group and we started communicating in there. Okay, what is going to happen for our students? Within the 2 weeks, we were like, okay, we can do class school via Zoom. And we did a mask making where we made a mask out of socks because we know there are a lot of things persons did not have the time to go out, and actually we were on lockdown. So we know we had extra pairs of socks around. So I did a demonstration on how to make masks out of socks. Then we had our aides jumped in and they read to our students. So we tried to do that within that first 2 weeks whilst we were on lockdown. And then when we realized that when the information came to us that, okay, it will be extended, we said we need to meet and we need to reach our students. And we then contacted parents. What is the best way to reach you? Do you know how to use Zoom? We had some teachers who didn't know how to use Zoom, didn't know how to use Google Classes. So we had to go into training and teach, and we taught our teachers how to use these different platforms. And with that, we were able to have whatever the parent and the teacher was comfortable with. They use that platform. Like I said, I use WhatsApp because
yeah.
my parents told me they don't have no computer. They're going out to buy no computer. And at that time, they were not giving out devices to students. So we had to use what was available.
Yeah.
And between my aide and myself, we got together, we continued with our lesson as best as possible. Whatever work the children had to do, they did it on their parents' phone, or those who had their own phones took snapshots and they sent it back to us. And we marked it and sent it back to them. So that was the type of communication we had from WhatsApp. We had those who were on the Google Classroom. They were able to have more interaction with their students. We created packages. We told parents, okay, to those parents, we had some parents who still have not returned to no virtual classes, but they will come and they will pick up the packages and they will work with the children like that, and they'll send you the teacher whatever work, maybe a snapshot, because most teachers have the different, like I said, different platforms. But when we got back to the hybrid, we had some teachers who came in and said, yes, I'm going to work this. And you have to understand that COVID is a thing where some persons and teachers are frightened. They do not want to be back in that environment. But those of us who went back, we made sure that we had markers around the school. I must give it up to our administrator. They made sure that we had hand sanitizers, we had liquid soap to be there, and the way in which our school is situated, our classes, we have our own bathrooms attached to our classrooms. So our students didn't have to move around too much to, they could have stayed in their area. And so that's what they did. We made sure that we had screen breaks so that the students were not in the front of a screen for a very long period of time. Um, that is how we handle it, and that is how we are still handling even the virtual. So it's going to be easier for those teachers who actually went in and did the hybrid to start classes again. We weren't able to do the 6 feet apart. We had to go with the 3. I think that was justified. So we went with that, but we noticed that some of our children gained from this virtual situation. Some of them gained the knowledge and they were able to work very well with it. And some students do not want to come back to school. But we know the majority of our students, they dropped. Their ability level dropped. Their gross motor skills, we have to basically start from scratch for that. And we give it up to the parents too. One of the reasons why a lot of us went back, I must say, is because the parents had to go to work. And that was, some of them are one parent families, and that was the only way of taking care of their children. So that helped them to go back, even though school might have out instead of 3, 2, so that we can do some serious cleaning on a daily basis. But like I said, it called for more hands on deck, more persons, janitorial staff working harder, because that was more in-depth cleaning. That means the classroom had to be mopped on a regular basis, on a daily basis, sorry, and with things like that. Um, so with that, our school was able to adjust because of the smaller population, I guess we are, and because of the way we are knitted to our students who are our children, we were able to adjust, and we are hoping that we gain some of our students back. It was hard for us to even do drive-through graduation. That was hard because these were children we watched grow up in the school, and to say bye with them from a distance, that was hard for us to do. But we had to do it because these are the times we are living in, and it went very well. But we are working at doing our best to bringing our children back to school in a safe manner and following the protocol that is set for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're good. We're winding down. We're coming to the end of our session, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to add their input. But I just want to jump back to Mr. Nelson. I know you were cut off just a little bit, so I just want to jump back to you, see your thoughts on what you would have added to that question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. So I was saying that we had to rotate our students and take them in smaller groups over a 4-day period in order for us to really manage. But we have seen some students over the last 2 years. They didn't come virtually and they didn't come to the hybrid session. But one of the things that we did, we paid out of our pockets because we love teaching. So we paid out of our pocket, and we have a system that we use in our unit that allow the children to give verbal response if that's what they can do. We are able to see them work in real time on any activity we give them. We can see them real time. We can give them real time feedback. But that's something that we had to pay out of our pocket because the LMS was not meeting our needs. I'd asked them on numerous occasions, I said, we have to get this program to meet our needs, but they said they're working on it. So we went ahead and we got this program is Class Kick. and we could set any work to the children could work on it. And the good thing about it is that when the parents come in the evening, for those who need those assistants, they could work any time of the day on these on this platform that we had, and it works out real nice, because even if the children cannot manipulate the tablet or manipulate the laptop or the phone, they can sit down. Those parents can print those sheets, they can work on them, and then they can take a snapshot. It comes right back into the platform. The platform is even set for it to mark the work automatically and give feedback. And because we were always researching, how are we going to help our children? Because children is not, I always tell somebody, Miss Moss, I said, anytime I don't care about children, it means that I need to step out of the profession. And so during this, we devise different plans, and we are always meeting and, trying to see how we can reach. But the virtual learning hasn't reached many of our children. They talk about they had 14,000 of the general ed that they don't meet. A number of our special ed that is not in the statistics that we haven't seen. We called and all of those kind of stuff, but you don't see them. So that's another challenge with the COVID and the virtual and the hybrid that needs to be dealt with.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nelson. So we're going to wind down with our final two questions. Firstly, I just want to get to the parents, and then I'm going to get to everybody else. But I would like to ask the parents in terms of accommodation and efforts made to accommodate students with special needs. Based on your experience, can you talk about the efforts that were made to accommodate students with disabilities? I'll ask you first, Mrs. Phillips.
Hi, good evening again. Efforts that were made. The only thing I can really say is the teachers are really trying their best to say, I'm not sure if I could say this, but personally, I think the Center for the Deaf I can only speak for the Center for the Deaf right now. Sorry. The Center for the Deaf, I think it's a very small school, and I think more effort and accommodation really could have been made for our kids to be more face-to-face. Like I say, I don't even think it's 60 kids inside the entire school. So I think we could have been more of a priority. Mm-hmm. We could have been more of a priority. We could have made adjustment for social distance. We could have made definitely more really could have been done, especially now with how everybody has to wear the mask. My son reads lips very well, so now everybody's wearing the mask when we go out. So he's like, what is everybody saying? I don't know what's going on, so now I'm thinking now when they go back to school, how is he going to read the lips? You understand? Because he's looking at you, even if you don't sign to him and you speak, he's able to understand what you're saying, but you're wearing a mask now. So now you're talking and now he doesn't understand. He doesn't know what's right. He doesn't know what's going on. So I honestly think more attention should have been placed on students or schools with special disabilities. It's not that many children. We could have put in some more effort on that end. Because what I saw now, my son has mastered freezing himself on virtual. He's like,
oh gee.
Yes. So,
oh goodness.
Teachers are like, oh, Miss Phillips, the screen is frozen. No. He's mastered that now.
Oh man.
he's mastered freezing himself as a hearing impaired student, because he's really not interested in sitting in the front of a tablet or a laptop. He's not. He wants to see his friends. He wants to socialize. Yes. And I think we just need to stop making excuses. COVID isn't going anywhere. We just need to do it and just get it done and get our kids back in school, especially our disabled children.
Thank you so much. Mr. Nelson mentioned that there's an invisible mask that is designed for people who read lips. So he mentioned that. Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yes, I want to thank all of you for sharing that. And I'm going to go around the room for everybody. This is our last question, so I'm going to go around the room with everybody as it pertains to roles and responsibility of parents, community, educators, and all of the stakeholders involved. What is the role of the various stakeholder groups to make provision for students with disabilities in the education system? So I'm going to start with Antoine Monroe, and I'm going to get everyone's input. Go ahead, Mr. Monroe.
Okay, I will be brief. All I'd like to say is parents, it's going to take the involvement of parents to really make the whole educational process of teaching students with disabilities work. Their children look to them for that support. And so it's going to take them to be more involved. And I saw parents involved really a lot during this virtual time, as we had all of our parents at our school, nearly all of them were involved in the teaching aspect.
Awesome.
of teaching our students.
Awesome.
So it will take our parents to be involved in order for this to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cartwright.
Monroe. Oh,
No, I know. I mean, moving on to Mr. Cartwright.
okay.
But thank you very much, Mr. Monroe. And you shared so many important points about, being careful of the language you're using, and you shared some very, very important points. So thank you so much for your input, Mr. Monroe. Now we will jump to Mr. Kevin Cartwright. Thank you so much.
Yes, pedagogy is important, and as our students grow into young men and women, it's important for them to receive that solid foundation. Hence the participation of parents, our teachers, community at large, and the involvement of government is critical to ensuring that our students get the very best tools and resources to facilitate their integration at school, in the wider community, and to prepare them for life after school. We want our students with disabilities not just to go to school and leave school without a future, as you often hear about couch potatoes. We don't want that for them. We want our students who are academically able to go off to university and to acquire the necessary knowledge and skill sets, and to equip and prepare themselves to have a bright and promising career. And even for those who are not as academically gifted, but do have the ability to acquire those vocational and training skills, to equip and prepare themselves for the world of work in other areas. We want those students to be able to do that. But this can only be done if all stakeholders would join hands and come together as partners and work towards achieving that one common goal. And finally, it is important for us to be mindful of the Persons with Disabilities Equal Opportunities Act. This is the Bahamas Persons with Disabilities Equal Opportunities Act, which was passed in 2014. This was unanimously passed in Parliament. And it is important for our leaders, those persons who make the laws, to ensure that it is enforced and it is upheld. And I will reference section 16, articles 30, 33, that speaks to integration, special education, free education, and accessibility to education. And it is important for us as educators to be guided by this and to remind those who are in authority to be of assistance that this document is not just to be on paper, but it is to be a living document that serves to protect the equal rights and opportunities of all persons with disabilities. And that's my 25 cents.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Cartwright. Thank you for that 25 cents.
I'm
going to come to you.
Last thing?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I always stress it to our policymakers. In order for real change to happen in our country as it relates to persons with disabilities in extension, an extension to the students with disabilities, we have to be a part of the conversation. And I just want to say I'm happy that you are having this forum tonight. And I hope that the policymakers are listening, because that is the only way. How could you design programs or services for persons with disabilities without including us? That's the only way there will be real change in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bethel. I'm going to come to you. I just want to read these comments by Marilyn Robert-Smith. Thank you so much for listening in. She says her son can do anything when she calls Ms. Hunt's name. I want to recognize Ms. Sonia Childs watching from Great Harbor Key. And so I'm going to go around the forum again to get everyone's input. I'll jump to you, Mistress Bethel.
Okay, yes. So my learned colleagues here have taught me so much. We all are thinking along the same lines, whether public and private. But I want to say, as far as I won't touch on all of the aspects of it, but I want to say, as far as parents is concerned, I think Mr. Monroe would have touched on it. We do need involved parents. Okay, that's almost half of the battle right there. We need involved parents to support these children, to support. Let me make sure I want to say this right now, Mr. Monroe. I don't want to mess this up. I want to say this correctly. Okay, I want to say that we have to support them and to ensure that we do our role as parents to that these children progress. As far as educators are concerned, as Ms. Rami stated, in the mainstream, because we're not specialized teachers. However, we do have a duty and a role to do our research, to do to seek resources, to seek assistance. We have an obligation as educators to educate ourselves too, okay? And to identify impediments per se. And we work with our parents as well to ensure that, hey, everybody's on the same page, going forward, moving together. So we have that responsibility as educators to continue to, better ourselves, educate ourselves in this area so that we can also educate those persons who may be unaware of how things, or the dynamics of how things go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bethel. Thank you. I'll jump to you, Miss Raming. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Good evening again. Okay. I would say that it takes a village. I mean, we hear it all the time, but it's a fact. It takes a village. And especially when you're dealing with anything that is presenting itself as something that requires extra special attention. Okay. We know that education itself requires attention. All right, just simply with students in the mainstream classroom, you have students who are learning at different levels. So that in itself requires attention. So of course, having students who have something added to their learning abilities, whatever it is, whether it's a physical or mental, anything affecting them mentally, we know then that they need to be, whatever their needs are, needs to be addressed. And so in terms of stakeholders, the parents, teachers, the government, we all have to do our part, and we have to be willing to understand that none of us can work in isolation, right? As teachers, we need the parents, we need the government support. As the government, they need the teachers, they need the parents support. As parents, they need us, they need the government. So we need one another. So I believe that the stakeholders who are us as educators, I think we have a duty, especially those of us who are passionate, because there are some in education who may not be as passionate as those of us on this panel, but there are others who are not on this panel. So I believe that those who are passionate about education and see that education should be fair across the board for all, I think that we need to stand up as advocates and make that, just shout it out across the mountaintop. Hey, all of these kids who are on our shores, they all deserve the attention in our education system so that as they mature into adults, they have the same opportunities afforded to them as those students who are considered normal.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So I believe that all stakeholders, government, parents, teachers, we have to work as a village, work as a team to get everything forward for all of our students, especially those who need that extra hand, those who are impaired in whatever fashion it may be. So that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Raming, in mentioning the importance of working together, all of us working together to ensure that those students, they are accommodated. And Mr. Monroe, Antoine Monroe, mentioned that we have a saying in the community of persons with disabilities, nothing for us without us. Thank you so much for your insight, Mr. Monroe. I'm gonna go to Mrs. Hunt as we wrap up. Mrs. Hunt. You're muted, Ms. Hunt. You're muted. You're still muted. You're muted, Ms. Hunt. You're talking away, but you're muted.
Mr. Nelson, you would be ashamed of me. I can tell you, I knew nothing about the virtual platform. One night, Mr. Nelson, I had him online with me for about 5 hours. But I'm still there, Mr. Nelson. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Thank you so much publicly. But I would like to say, in terms of the responsibility and roles of parents, there must be continuous consultation and collaboration with teachers in an effort to reach the educational goals that is set out in the IEP, to make sure that our children, students with special needs become independent and productive citizens in our society. Also, it's good for parents to expose our special needs students to the community. There are things that they can do. Gone are the days when we have to hide them in the room. Bring them out to the community. I mean, you never know. They may start out packing groceries and end up being in charge of the poultry section.
That's right.
But we must expose them to the community. And as far as educators are concerned, I think the IEP is so important. And when it's difficult to get a whole team together in this season of COVID, the IEP is important because that is how we set goals for them. And when we set goals, we must set realistic goals and take it in strides. Look at their accomplishments in small things, We often say that when our kids are challenged that they cannot do, they can do, but it takes time. It takes a little bit more effort than the normal children. But my thing is exposure, consultation, and collaboration, and we will get the job done. Thank you, Ms. Moss.
Amen.
Thank you so much. And I just wanna reiterate and specify, listen, I wanna make sure we're using the right terminology. Mr.
Yes,
Monroe,
ma'am.
Separate regular from children without disabilities, right? I just wanna make sure we're using those right terminologies.
Yes, you recognize the person first and then the disability, because you always want to look at the ability of the person, not the disability.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Monroe. And I'm gonna go to, we have a few persons to add their comment. I'm gonna go to Ms. Seymour. Ms. Seymour, I wanna mention Ms. Peachy. She's saying, very informative talk. Thank you, Mr. Seymour, for showing the challenges we have here in Grand Bahama. So I wanna thank you for representing Grand Bahama. So let's hear from you, Ms. Seymour.
I want to say that about the role and responsibility of the community as a stakeholder. As parents and as educators, I think we're not perfect, but we have a fairly good handle on it. But the Disability Act talks about there should be, I think, about 1% of the employees in your organization. That should be persons with disability. You know, are our business community members listening? Are they monitoring? Are they speaking with their HR? Are they advocating for these persons who are their cousin's brother, a nephew, godchild, godson, sister, auntie, brother? We're all a part of this together. The Bahamas is a very small community. If we go around this room, we probably will find that we're connected almost to, half the people on this call. And as a community, we cannot do it without, as parents and as educators, we cannot do it without the community. We need the community to recognize that our children may be different, but they have assets, they have abilities. And I can tell you that once you can get some of these students to gravitate to something, they would be the most dependable employee you would ever have. Because if you tell them if they get into that routine that they're going to be to work at 8 o'clock, they're going to be to work at 8 o'clock. Because that is hello. So I just want the business community to get on board with us when we come and we say, hey, Mr. Nelson has these 5 young men or women, and we want a vocational internship for them with whatever establishment, that we don't shy away. We welcome them. We come and we come to the Beacon School and we say, Ms. Moss, TT Moss, we want to know how many students you want to send to us. That's what we want the businesses to do. Okay, welcome us into our communities. We are here, but welcome us in. That's what we want.
Thank you. Thank you for that point. We'll jump to Mr. Nelson.
Thank you very much. As we close up, I'm going to turn off my mic, my camera if it's stuttering. But our special needs children, they're a small group. And one other thing that we talk about is to find areas, olden areas. And my church is currently under renovation. I'm appealing to the president for the Christian Council as you meet to talk with these churches. If you don't want to take the general group, which is large, then you could accommodate the special needs on those days when they are not in school, so that they have somewhere. I know they have a lot of mothers board and women's board. They have some persons who are not working and willing to be able to supervise. And so I'm appealing. A lot of persons talk about the parents, what the parents can do, what the business can do, but what the church can do. My church is currently under renovation. That's why we are not doing it. But I'm appealing to other churches. You have the space, you have the internet. Some churches have their live poll on their place and they get in from BTC and stuff. And we don't have to worry about they're stealing the internet. Just create a guest code that you give them. And when they're finished, you just shut that down until the next day.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our last commenters are Ms. Sanders Adderley, and then lastly, we'll get to you, Ms. Phillips.
Okay, this area, like I will be, I guess, going on what a lot of the panelists have already spoken on. But I must say that the advocates are the parents, first of all. They have to do the part. We as educators, we can make as much noise as we want to, but if parents are not going to support us, we are the ones whose jobs are out there and at stake. So with that alone, we need parents to be involved and to stay involved, not because your child might be finished with school. Your child is still a special person who needs help. So you need to continually be there with us, fighting for those younger children so that each year it will get better and better for them until we get to a point where we have everybody knowing that special children can work in certain areas, can be a part of different things. One thing I must give to Stapleton is, and especially those teachers that work to the senior students, and our guidance counselor, Miss Blyden, Miss Moss, now Miss Miller, we go out and we solicit jobs for our children. And we have a 2-year program where we ask the persons or the employees, say, just let them follow you for one day. Let's start off with just one day. This is what this child is interested in. And after that, we'll say, okay, yeah, we bag in sections. I'm sorry to say it, but we bag in sections. Then can they come for 2 days out of the week?
Yeah.
And then when they get used to our children, then they're like, oh yes, we can work with them.
Yes.
And then we say for that last couple of months, just like the other students, senior students are out there doing job training, we have our children out there doing job training as well. And we still have students during COVID, I shouldn't say students, former students during COVID who were working when others were laid off. Because like what Ms. Seymour said, our children get into a routine. We don't tell them if the place starts at 8, be there for 8. You'll be there for 7:30 because they're expecting you to be late. So let's show them better, but we need the business people to be on board with us. And I must give it up. When you have parents and teachers working together, there is so much we can do. Knowing that this is the last time I'm going to get to speak, I must give a shout out to our support staff, because when COVID hit and we knew we had students who were less fortunate than others, we had them come together and they prepared packages. They went out and they solicited on their own. This is our support staff. And we dropped these packages. We dropped them off and we didn't ask, do you need? We just said, here, we know the needs of our children. So if we can do this as our small population with
Oh, she mistakenly turned off her mic, I think.
You mistakenly muted yourself.
we assure those schools that have boards are able to do it even better. And I must add a pet peeve of mine. We need to think of transitioning. We need to think of what is going to happen with our children, our students, because they are our children.
Yes.
When reach of age. We also have those who we know are going to be at home, but not because they're at home all day. That means they cannot go out to an activity center for part of the day so that they can continue to be socialized, to continually be socialized with their friends, social with their friends, sorry. And then we also think about those who are getting or who are of age but might want to live on their own. We can set up things like this. This has been in the talks for so long.
Yeah.
Mr. Nelson say we need to stop talking. We need to do. And the most important thing is the finances. If we had the finances, it would have been done. So I just want to encourage parents, work with the teachers, beat the doors of education, beat the government doors down, get what your children deserve.
Miss Moss, allow me just to say something quick, because I am learning a lot from the panelists here, and I'm seeing something here where as there seems to be a negative or a stigma attached to when approaching persons who may have disabilities, because what Miss Saunders is saying, Adley, is that persons are somewhat reluctant to take on these children, and so, or students, and so like Mr. Antoine said, that persons, when they, instead of talking to him directly, they talk to an aide, okay, because there's a stigma attached, as if, okay, what's going on? Do we need to have open talk sessions on how to break down that wall, or how to dispel the myth, you know, and just allow people to be able to, because we talk to everyone the same here. I mean, wherever we go, You see what I'm saying? So maybe we need to think about educating the public in a way to say that, hold on, we're humans too. We can do things too. You don't have to talk to somebody on the side of me. Come talk to me direct. So maybe people are sort of reluctant because they don't want to offend. They don't want to seem presumptuous or ostentatious per se, right? So maybe we need to have another talk about how we can break down that wall so that the community, Ms. Seymour, can be more open. Okay, so others could be more open to learning, because I know I'm certainly here to learn. I've learned so much on this panel, and I thank all of you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mistress Bethel, for mentioning that. Thank you. We appreciate you. We want to get to Ms. Phillip, our last commenter. I just want to highlight some of the comments in our chat. Ms. Seymour mentioned that she's from Church of God, a Prophecy, Pinedale, 8 Mile Rock, has been accommodating to virtual students at their community center since last term. And as a final note, Kevin Cartwright mentioned that inclusive education requires sensitive teachers with compassionate hearts who has willing hands as well to build a learning community. And so I'm gonna get to Miss Phillips. Yeah.
Okay, so we're wrapping it up. So what I encourage people to do, I know a few weeks back, a lady asked me, she was like, are you embarrassed? Are you embarrassed that your son is deaf? And I was like, embarrassed? Why?
Oh, exactly.
And I'm not sure if you guys know, sometimes deaf children, they make this high-pitched sound. And they make that sound. So he's loud. And when he's really loud, I tell him, you got to bring it down, but I don't stop him.
No.
I don't say, well, shut up, or I don't do that. But that is how he expresses himself.
Exactly.
So she's like, does that embarrass you?
No.
I was like, no, that it doesn't embarrass me at all. I say, because he's always confident in whatever environment he's in.
Great.
And persons, like, they say, well, someone will come to me and be like, what's his name? He will go to you and say, he will literally teach you, my name is Keishad. He'll come to you and he'll say, not speak it, obviously. He'll sign and say, my name is Keisha, and he'll teach you how to spell his name.
Awesome.
And if you don't get it, he can tell you have a seat until you get that. And
educated in the making.
Yes, and he's 7 years old.
Wow.
And, yes, he's 7. His dad owns auto. My husband owns an auto body shop.
Yes.
And he could make a day's work because he's learned a trade already.
Hello.
No, he has learned. He can sign your car. He can bundle your car. He could buff your car.
Awesome.
Trust me, he has learned a trade already.
Awesome.
Now his new thing now is he's into watching videos with baking cakes. So now I have to go to the food store every other
day. And buy
day
some stuff. Yes.
To buy the ingredients. Yes. So what I encourage parents to do is to always be an encourager.
Yes.
Don't ever think your child can't do it. Trust me, it's no excuses. It is no, when it comes to helping with cooking dinner, doing your chores, doing your work, it is no excuse.
Awesome.
I told my kids I'm going on a chat for disabled children. They was like, well, who disabled in this house?
Exactly.
They don't see him as being disabled. They say, you understand?
Yes.
And try to include your children, try to include your disabled children, or what's not the word? Your ability children. That's what you.
Come on, Mr. Monroe. Come on, Mr. Monroe. Help us out.
Children with disabilities.
Yeah, children with disabilities. You include them in everything, and just include them. No matter if it's the little things, just include them. Even when we speak and we have to wear masks, we make it a point that when we're having a conversation as a family, we sign so that he could be included in it.
Yes.
Yes. Trust me. Always be their number one fan. Encourage them. Listen. That's what it is. Just encourage them. And with teachers, my standard for the deaf crew, I love them different. Those teachers, no, trust me, those teachers, they next level with that love and that patience. Trust me, they know. I ready to go down patient. We need a school. Yes. Yes. So that's my 3 cents now.
Thank
That's
you.
my
Thank you
favorite.
so much. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Ms. Phillips. Mr. Monroe says we can organize more educational forums on the correct
Yes,
language, like Ms.
yes,
Bethel mentioned. You know,
yes,
she is open to learning the
yes.
correct language that we can use to speak to or on behalf of persons with disabilities. So there's a
Yes.
lot of learning to be had. And I want to thank him for sharing that. So we have come to the end of our session. We've come to the end, and I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Mr. Brown. She's being
Yes.
Ms. Brown, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Ms. Brown, you have any comment? Anything you want to say? You've been just doing so awesome.
Just want to say that I concur with all of the panelists this evening. It was wonderful. And I want to say to Ms. Adderley, who always said one of our motto is always be prepared. So I want to say I was truly prepared and I really enjoyed this evening. And I hope and pray that we are successful in the future as we work together as a community, as parents, and as teachers,
Yes.
and the government. Because like we said, it's a village to raise a child, but we can't do it alone. No group or no entity can do it by themselves.
Amen.
We all need each other.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
as we close, thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to see you guys again. Wonderful.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thank you so
Yes.
much. You came in at the last minute and you've opened up yourself. We appreciate you so much. And we need to engage more. And all of you came together to talk about and added your insight, added your perspective to help to make this a talk that we needed to have. And I want to thank all of you for your time. And I just wanted to, if you have anything else, any additional comment, if you could just be quickly brief about it because we're about to end. But if you want to add anything, please feel free to do so at this time.
Well, I concur with
I
Mr.
want to thank,
Antoine
Madam
Monroe.
President.
Go ahead.
I want to thank Madam President for the opportunity
Yes.
to come together as a panel so that we could educate the population. Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, yeah. And I concur with Mr. Monroe in having more forums to teach and to educate. And he obviously is willing to assist in that, and Mr. Cartwright. So I am all for it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I just would like to say thank you to the organizers for this panel. It was very informative and bringing the information. I tried to get information from teachers at Stapleton so that it won't just be me presenting, but you are hearing from more stakeholders
Yes.
from the educational background.
Okay.
And I must say from the civic background, in guiding, we do have a unit at Stapleton in guides, and we ask other organizations
Civic,
to,
yeah.
put your hands in as well and give back, because service is always before self. And like Ms. Brown said, we are prepared to do what needs to be done to help our special children.
Y'all going quiet now.
Oh, Miss Rami, Miss Rami, you have anything to add? Miss Rami wants to say something. I see that. Go ahead.
I just want to add as my final comment that all of us, we're here for a purpose, and we all start our purpose. We all have a journey on our purpose, and our purpose for all of us, we begin as children. And I think that as educators and parents, we need to band together as we are doing so on this platform, do so beyond this platform, band together to ensure that all of our children are able to walk the journey towards their purpose, whether they are children with disabilities or children without, to ensure that at the end of the day, they can feel purpose-filled, and we can do our part as much as possible in making that a reality for them.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Ms. Simo from Freeport, representing Freeport. There's someone else from the Family Island here as well, right? Anyone else from the Family Island? Okay. And Ms. Phillips, you wanted to add something?
Oh no, I'm going to fill out an application form now to become a to become an educator now. I'm gonna be.
Well, you are, because you've
That's
been
right,
assisting your son. You are an educator.
Since we need teachers, I'm here to help.
Okay, excellent.
Ms. Seymour?
So I want to say thank you for having me, and I want to say thank you to my child's school principal, Mrs. T.T. Moss from the Beacon School, for extending the invitation and giving me the opportunity to speak as a parent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Seymour. I want to thank Mrs. Belinda Wilson again. She was with us in the beginning, and she dashed and she gone. But I want to thank I want to thank those listening in who put in their comments. Charlene Walkin, this is a great panel for policy making. Excellent job. Thank you so much, Ms. Walkin. Thank you so much, Ms. Peachy. Thank you, Denise Phillips. Thank you for all of those persons, Kenya Adderley, Morris Johnson, Marilyn Robert Smith. Thank you everyone who would have listened in and who would have added their comments to our talk today. I want to thank our panelists who did such an excellent job. Lynn Hernandez is saying shout out Belinda Wilson said, I know you're watching, Miss Wilson. You started with us and you know, I know, said, okay. I want to thank Ms. Lynn Hernandez for saying shout out to Grace Community Church, who has also accommodated the Center for the Deaf during the pandemic.
Oh, awesome.
Elliott Brown, public awareness is really important.
Yes.
Lynn Hernandez, all of these persons who would have commented. Thank you so much, Elliott Brown. Renita Johnson, thank you so much, Renita, for listening in. This is why we need more public awareness like this, or joint community programs that showcase individuals with special needs or people with disabilities. And again, Mr. Monroe, you would have mentioned that we need an awareness forum to talk about the terms and what we should use. So we need you to come back and help us, please, because we want to know.
I'll be back.
We want to be educated. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, sorry, Mr. Monroe.
I just wanted to say a shout out or hello to all the entire staff of the Aaron H. Gilmore School for the Blind. And also I want to say a special shout out to former principal and teacher, Miss Maria Delaveau. I know she's tuning in. Hello to you, ma'am, and we thank you for all that you've done to bring our school to where it is today.
Awesome.
Thank you. I also want to mention Carolyn, who's watching from Elutra. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for listening in. I just want to thank everybody. Thank you all for listening in. Please like, share, comment, add your 2 cents. So I want to thank you all. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thank you, everybody. And so with that, I want to thank all you for your time. Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Thank you guys for your time. So with that, we've come to the end of our session, and I want to thank all of you. Can we talk? So we've come to the end, and we'll close out our session tonight.